Salaman Boxing. Like, subscribe, comment. So, David La Bandera Roja Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade, November 25th. Strengths, weaknesses, keys to victory. We're gonna put the spotlight on it. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Salaman Boxing. Blessings in the name of Jesus. Please excuse my absence. I had a little cold. It wasn't too bad, thank God, but it took my voice away. So I had to take a break from doing the videos. Nevertheless, we're back and we're breaking down the fights. So, November 25th, David Benavidez, La Bandera Roja, or as Mike Tyson would like to call him, the Mexican Monster versus Demetrius Andrade. So let's break it down. So first, let's look at the strengths. When we look at David Benavidez, he is a great fighter. He has a fan-friendly style. He's very offensive, and everyone knows him for his pressure. Everyone knows him for his speed. He throws a lot of punches, and that's how he really got his name. But I think some of the more refined attributes to his game gets overlooked, like his timing. He has excellent timing. He is actually a prolific counterpuncher. David Benavidez, he moves towards you, he's walking you down, but he is by no means just a slugger. If you throw shots at him while he's pressuring you, he can easily pull, roll, and he can actually hit you while you're punching him. He has excellent timing. He can hit you in between shots. Sometimes he will just lean over just a little bit as you're throwing and catch you an uppercut, or he'll time you. If you go to like throw a left hook, he'll time, as you start to open up, he'll time you with a right hand. So David Benavidez has excellent timing, and he is a great counterpuncher. We all know that he has speed, but I think what makes him very dangerous is he picks his shots very well. David Benavidez is very creative with his offense, and he changes levels very well. He's very good at identifying holes in his opponent's armor, kinks in their armor, and he exploits it with punches. Another strength that David Benavidez has is his ability to break you down with the jab. David Benavidez, I've seen him in there with guys that can box, guys that have experience, and when it starts to get a little competitive, David Benavidez can change the course of the fight with his jab. He will break you down with that jab. He doesn't just use the jab as a rangefinder. He doesn't just use it to set up his other punches, but David Benavidez can actually beat you up and break you down with the jab. He resorts to the jab, and it actually has brought him through a couple times, even in the Anthony Durrell fight, right? Durrell was boxing great, you know, and there were actually points in the fight where he was kind of like beating David Benavidez to the punch, you know, just using his jab and using savvy veteran moves. But how did David even the playing field and actually end up winning the fight? It was the jab. He started breaking him down with the jab. He has a strong jab, and for him to have really long arms like David does, he has an excellent jab. And his jab, it doesn't just push you back. His jab, it'll bust your eye open. And when he catches guys on the chin with that power jab, it actually hurts them. It discourages them. And then it basically sets the stage for him to set up the rest of his offense after they've been bruised and battered by the jab. And he just takes them out, right? Especially if there's little to no resistance. So David Benavidez is a great fighter, man. Great fighter. He goes to the body very well, and he can throw every punch in the book. Some fighters are known for their left hooks, some are known for their right hands, some are known for uppercuts. David Benavidez is fully furnished when it comes to his offense. He can throw every single punch and throw it well. He can move his punches from upstairs to downstairs and be very unpredictable with his offensive prowess. He is very good offensively, and it makes him a formidable opponent for anyone. All right? Now, let's look at Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, he is an excellent fighter as well. Right off the bat, you just look at Demetrius Andrade. He is well schooled in boxing. He's a southpaw, and he's a slick southpaw. He has that Midwest style. He has a great jab. He has a great 1-2. He has good movement. He has good rhythm. Excellent footwork. And I think that's what really stands out as part of what makes him elite in his skill set is his footwork. So what he does is he uses his footwork to keep his opponent off balance, right? And set traps. So he doesn't just stay there in front of his opponent. He basically uses his footwork to set up his opponent. So he does kind of like what a basketball player would do. He uses misdirection. So he'll fake like he's going one direction and then go the next at the last second and cross up his opponent, except he's not just getting past them with a basketball, but he's landing a punch. Okay? So what he does, he starts moving in any direction really. And what happens if when you're a boxer and your opponent is standing in front of you, even if they're in a perfect stance, ready to punch, once you take a step back or take a step to the side, they are forced to make an adjustment, whether they step with you to cut off the ring or they turn to keep themselves in position to punch. Okay? Once the opponent is adjusting after you've made the initial move, you can exploit that millisecond while they are gathering their back foot and getting into position. So that's what Demetrius Andrade does. He moves around, changes directions quickly. When that freezes his opponent or causes them to adjust again, he explodes into offense. He lands left hands to the body. He lands great uppercuts. And I think where he shines is with single shots. He sets you up for beautiful single shots that are very hard, and many times his opponent does not see the punch coming. And this makes Demetrius Andrade very hard to beat. So it should be an excellent fight. I really want to see how the styles play out, because David Benavidez is more of a pressure fighter, puncher who can box, and Demetrius Andrade is more of a pure southpaw boxer who can punch, right? So it's a perfect clash of styles. All right, now when we look at weaknesses, both of them do have weaknesses. Let's look at David Benavidez. He's a great fighter, but he does have this tendency, and I've seen him do it a couple of times, where to kind of bait his opponent to attack, he will walk towards them with his hands up, in the high guard, but his feet are square also. So he just stands in front of his opponent as a big target, and if the opponent can box, if the opponent has a good skills, they can exploit that. And I know David Benavidez, because I've seen him do this before, where instead of his shoulders being bladed, he'll bring his right shoulder forward in the high guard. But what he's doing is he's presenting a target to kind of bait his opponent. And what it does with him bringing his right shoulder forward, it gives him the opportunity to throw his right hand from a closer distance. All right, so I understand the strategy, but it still puts him in harm's way, because his straight shots down the middle. He's available to get hit for straight shots down the middle and also in the body. That's one thing I would say. I've never really seen David Benavidez protect his body, okay? Maybe it's because he trains and he knows that he can take the body shots, but you know, you really shouldn't do that, because all it takes is to get hit at the right time, when you don't see it, when you're not prepared, when you're breathing out and you get hit with the right shot. It can drop you, or even if it doesn't drop you, it can weaken you, okay? So that would be the first weakness we see with Benavidez, where he squares up both his feet and his shoulders in range, like mid-range, and you know, he can get hit with shots. The second weakness that Benavidez has is connected to his strength of offense. David Benavidez, he's very sharp. We know that he throws those machine gun punches that, you know, we all love to see. But sometimes when he's breaking a guy down, he can get a little too greedy, okay? And he starts standing there too long. Bam, 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 right? Boom, boom. He's throwing all these shots. A lot of times the guys just cover up. However, if a guy has the courage, if a guy has the presence of mind, he has the composure and the experience, a guy can stay right there, catch the shots and shoot, okay? Catch the shot, shoot, catch, shoot. And he can end up getting hit with big shots that can hurt him. Now, David has always displayed a great chin, but the name of this game is to hit and not get hit, okay? So he can get a little greedy, and it sometimes puts him in harm's way. All right, now let's look at Bubu Andrade. What are his weaknesses? Bubu Andrade, the first weakness I'll say that I see in Bubu Andrade is sometimes when he's playing the tough guy, right? When I say playing the tough guy, meaning he's getting offensive, and a lot of times it's to discourage the guy or gain his respect, right, from his opponent. Sometimes he can get a little bit sloppy with his offense, okay? He does vary his punches very well. So he will throw an uppercut, he'll throw a right hook, throw a left hand. He knows how to loop his shots very well. So he'll turn that straight left hand into a hook. And he's very good with varying his offense, but sometimes he can get greedy as well and throw too much shots, and it can leave him open, because when he's throwing all these shots, his head is normally in the same spot, and when he's opening up, the guy can do the same thing, catch and shoot. And I saw his last opponent, I think it was Desmond Nicholson or Desmond Nicholson. He caught him with a few shots. He caught him with some counter jabs. He caught him with a clean, short counter left hook when he was opening up. And if Nicholson was a bigger puncher, we don't know how that fight may have played out. You have to protect yourself at all times, okay? Another weakness that I see in Demetrius Andrade is, again, connected to his strength. We talked about how he sets traps, he moves his feet laterally, changes directions very quickly, and exploits the millisecond that it takes his opponent to reset to land great shots. He has a good counter right uppercut, right? With both hands, he can actually throw a great uppercut with his left hand as well. But after he lands the single shot, okay, he does a defensive maneuver of some kind, whether he pulls, he slips, he rolls, right? He steps over. He does a defensive move after he lands his shot that he sets you up for. But the thing is, after he rolls and comes back up, right? A lot of times his hands are down and he doesn't anticipate offense from his opponent after his initial defensive move, okay? And it could put him in harm's way when his opponent throws combinations, because even if his opponent throws a left hook, right? And this has happened before, where his opponent throws a left hook and he ducks underneath it and comes up with his head back on the line, and his opponent follows him with a right hand. He can get hit with combinations after doing a defensive move, but having his hands down, not being defensively responsible. And I've seen him hurt a few times. He's a warrior, you know what I'm saying? He'll start fighting back and throwing punches, but nevertheless, you don't want to be defensively irresponsible, especially fighting a fighter like David Benavidez. So, keys to victory. We look at David Benavidez. If he is going to win this fight, David Benavidez is going to have to cut off the ring. He has a tendency to walk in, square up, waiting for his opponent. He's going to have to be a little more assertive, especially with his footwork. Even if not with punches, he can't be following Demetrius Andrade around the ring. He has to cut off his escape routes, use his jab very well. He does have a good jab, but I think he needs to use his jab and use his legs to cut off the ring to negate some of Andrade's movement, okay? I think he also needs to go to Demetrius Andrade's body. He needs to hit him to the body, and he needs to vary his punches. David Benavidez, he changes levels very well. He can shoot a shot to the body and come upstairs, and once he stuns you, right? He does all that. I think he's gonna have to do that because Demetrius Andrade, as we spoke about, when he gets into his groove and he's boxing, he likes to keep his hands down, okay? If David can get him in a defensive posture after catching him with a shot with his hands down, it can change the course of the fight, okay? And David also, when Demetrius Andrade starts to open up, if he starts to open up and gets wide with his shots, keeping his head on the line in the same position, we all know David Benavidez has an excellent counter left hook that he can catch Demetrius Andrade with, all right? What does Demetrius Andrade have to do to beat the Mexican monster? He has to box him. If you look at all the fights where David Benavidez has had trouble, okay? Not necessarily trouble, but it's been competitive. If you notice, it's always against someone that can box and move. Caleb Plant, Anthony Durrell, you know, who else? The Ellis brother that he fought. Even though they lost the fights, they gave him trouble when they moved, boxed, used rhythm, use a good jab, change directions quickly. If he can do that for the whole fight and not get greedy, not try to match David Benavidez's aggression, don't get too frustrated. Even if David hits him with a good shot, he doesn't need to get frustrated and try to get it right back and get his revenge right away. What he needs to do is stay boxing, stay composed. If he is composed, if he weathers the storm and just keeps boxing for the entire fight, and he can win a decision. It is possible. It is possible. With that being said, who do I see winning this fight? I'm not gonna give a prediction, but I do think that the fight favors David Benavidez. I would say this is like a 60-40 fight, but because of the caliber of Andrade, I would say it's like a 55-45 fight in favor of David Benavidez. And I say that because David Benavidez has been fighting at 168 pounds for his whole career. You know, he's a big guy. He's been fighting guys at the division and hurting guys in the division. I just think he has a lot more experience in the division. Andrade is a great fighter, but he has only had one fight at 168 pounds. That's his last fight against Nicholson. And I think in the fight, I could tell that the physicality of Nicholson, even though he was much more skilled than Nicholson, the physicality, the weight, it seemed to be an issue for Andrade in the fight, right? So I think that he's going into this fight as a smaller guy, and he's fighting a very big, very strong David Benavidez. I just think that the odds aren't in his favor. I still think it's going to be a good fight. The Francis Ngannou fight taught us that anything can happen in boxing. So let's just see how it plays out. But if I were a betting man, which I am not, I would pick David Benavidez to win. But I think the fight will be won between rounds 9 and 12. I think the winner is going to emerge in the second half of the fight. I think it's going to be very competitive early. These are world-class fighters, and I think it's going to be a great fight. It really is going to be a great fight. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how you think the fight is going to play out. Let me know who you think is going to win. Let me know how it's going to be broken down. Don't just tell me you're a fan of one guy. Break the fight down, analyze it, and I would be happy to have the discussion in the comments, okay? For now, that's the Cello Man Boxing Spotlight on the Matter. Blessings.